Okay, we have had some trouble with our stream tonight, guys. Fans of the show will know that we are waiting for our master builders to finish the new $1 million studio set up here, and currently we are in transit. We are at a temporary location, and we just can't rely on the internet connection at the moment. So sorry about that, guys, but we are live again, and we're not going to do an intro. We're going to get straight into the Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone's property manager for the house she was living in with boyfriend Jorge Torres, who is cold, purple, dead, and in the shape of a suitcase. And this is not their first rodeo, guys. They have had a violent past of drinking and just, the property manager is going to tell us all about it. So skip the intro and we're just going to get straight into this little last segment for tonight on the Sarah Boone. Oh, is that the right one? Yeah, okay. All good. Can you hear me and can you hear the stream? Let us know in the comments. Saddle up, back on the trail. You know it. Back on the Appalachian Trail, right, Rabbit? Okay.
Today's date is February 26, 2020. The time now is approximately 12:05 hours. This is in reference to Orange County case number 20-017904. I'm currently located at Tealwood Park Apartments, 4704 Lucier Court, Winter Park, Florida, 32792. I am here with my partner, Detective Scott Long, with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And can you state your name?
Melissa May Sexton.
You are the property manager of this complex, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we had Kim in here asking about the tenants, Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres. And they have lived here. You gave us a date of February 9th, 2018?
Correct.
Okay. You had told us that Sarah would confide in you about her and George's relationship. Can you tell us further what she would tell you?
Yes. Sarah, shortly after she moved in with George, she came to the office to talk to me. We noticed bruises and stuff on her, and she asked me if she could talk to me privately and asked how she would be able to get George off of the lease. Is there any way to do that? Which prompted, deeper conversation. She proceeded to let me know and was showing me a lot of bruises and marks. There were handprints, scratches. She even at one point had to go to the hospital. Through multiple conversations that we had, it steadily progressed. She had a very large gash at one point in her shin.
So this is starting off pretty well for Sarah, huh? The violent past of Jorge Torres, Jorge Torres. She had a gash, black eyes. She'd been beaten to a pulp. She came to the property office and said, "What should I do about my violent boyfriend?" Sounding like a little, what do they call this defense? Spousal, battered woman syndrome or something, right? We've seen it tried a lot of times. We've seen it in Jodi Arias. We've seen it in Ezra McCandless. We're going to be covering that case as well soon, guys. Ezra McCandless, great courtroom performances from the defense counsel, from the prosecution counsel. So like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss that treat that is coming up very soon. We're probably going to be covering Sarah Boone for a little while now because the trial is about to start this Monday on the 29th of January. So that should be very good value. We're waiting to see whether or not Sarah Boone will testify in her own defense. Here's hoping we get to hear a lot from her in court, because if her letters to her judge are anything to go by, she has a lot to say, and it's not going to be pretty.
And she had to go to the hospital and get that taken care of. I'm not exactly sure what it was from, but I think it had to do when they got into a fight outside. And something got broke. I think it was one of their wine glasses or something. But, she came to me at one point asking, what do I do? Like, how can I get rid of him? I've never dealt with this type of situation. I just counseled her as she continued to come to me and explained to her that, she had to make a decision if she was going to stay with him or not be with him. If she, was going to try to work things out, they needed to seek out therapy, help, something.
But, what we were just saying about this being pretty good for Sarah, what actually comes out in this conversation with the property manager, who's had first-hand dealings with both of them, is that Sarah is the key perpetrator. Of the two abusers, she is the one that is more, Darvo orientated, deny, attack, reverse, victim, offender. It's Sarah that's the troublemaker. I think George had a problem with alcohol, and we know that, that creates the loss of control for a lot of people, but really where his violence would come into play, and I'm not saying this justifies it, but when she is just, in his face, scratching him, maybe he slapped her or something, but you see what I mean? I really think if he was with the right woman, even if she was an alcoholic, then, it wouldn't, he's not, some people abuse their spouse because they need to abuse someone. And the sense of it is that wasn't George.
It wasn't too long after that last conversation that I found out the police had come and George was arrested. I don't remember about how long it was in between time, but there was another incident after that where they both got arrested, all for domestic. The complaints I've had throughout their whole term, roughly about 20 to 30 noise complaints, fighting, arguing, banging on doors.
20 to 30 noise complaints. This recording is, this audio recording of the interview with the property manager is recorded in 2020, and she's just said that they moved in 2018. So that's 2 years. 20 to 30 noise complaints. That's one a month, basically. That's quite a lot. And yeah, maybe they were in little pockets, lots of noise complaints on this month, none on that month, and so on. But that's a lot of complaints. I'd imagine a property manager would want you out of the condo, the complex, for that. That's a lot to deal with.
Doors, loud music. It was just always something pertaining to their lifestyle. I do know that I have seen both of them intoxicated as early as 9 o'clock in the morning, and I mean staggering, falling down, intoxicated. Both of them.
And she's being nice about that. Staggering, falling down, intoxicated at 9 in the morning. Hi, that's that spells well-adjusted adult all over the place, doesn't it?
There was a noise complaint that I had received about some fighting one day that was going on, and Sarah was actually wandering around the property very drunk, barefoot, not properly dressed. I'll say it like that.
What does that mean? Not properly dressed? I'll say it like that. Well, I guess that means, like, what? With her, like, wearing a shirt, but it's not buttoned at all? Or something? Did she have her breasts out? I don't know.
Sitting on the side of her building over by the retention pond. When I was told about that is when I approached Sarah, sat down, talked to her. I even had also separately went and talked to George and told them that once they had served it up, I needed to have a meeting with them. The following business day, because this was a Friday, I do remember that. I went to see them Monday, roughly about 12 o'clock. They were sober. They apparently had some epiphany that they were going to straighten themselves up and start acting right. And they did very good for, well, basically until now. I haven't gotten any complaints since May of the past year, But up until that point, the complaints were consistent, monthly, always.
Would you ever speak with George by himself? Like, did he ever confide in you about their relationship?
The one time where, like I was just saying, that when I talked to her, she asked me to go talk to him. But she's like, please, but put the fear of God in him. Fear of God in him. I'm a very stern property manager. I don't tolerate a whole lot of crap.
Right.
And she knew that. And
I believe her. She sounds stern. She sounds like a woman who can take care of her business. You know what I'm saying?
And she seemed scared of him at the time. So I said, sure, no problem. Just stay here. I will go talk to him. I went over, sat down, talked to George. I talked to him for about 30 minutes altogether. And, George had explained to me that she was actually the aggressive one. And the reason she ended up with Marks is, in my perception of what he was trying to explain is that she's very hands-on, in the face, dramatized in talking and explaining or fussing or whatever they might have been doing.
Right.
And I believe that because Jean, my assistant, doesn't even like to deal with her, would avoid her like the plague because she was always drunk and she's very hands-on. There was one day, as a matter of fact, it was that same day that I talked to George by himself. She kept grabbing me by the arms to the point that I told her, I said, touch me one more time, we're going to have a problem. I'm either going to contact the police or whatever we need to do. But you can't keep crapping on me. I had asked her several times to quit touching me. And because of that, she would do the same thing to Jean, and Jean didn't like it.
Right.
So, that's...
Look, she's grabbing the property manager. She's grabbing Jean. She's very hands-on. She's very in your face. Brian, the ex-husband, said that she loves to use her claws, get her claws into your neck, into your face. She just seems like a abusive drunk, We don't really know much about her childhood. We know a little bit about her past from Brian, who says alcohol has always been part of her life, but it really kicked off after she had her son, right? So it sounds like she maybe felt trapped, maybe felt like she hadn't lived her life, and really wanted to kick up her party notch a few belt loops there, which is not uncommon. But the result of this situation is uncommon. She's the only person I know who's called the suitcase killer.
What he was explaining to me is she was always the touchy one, the aggressive one, not that she was hitting him, but she would be like, in his face, or she might, push him, or, little things like that. And she would block him from coming out of the room or whatnot, and he would take her and move her. You know what I mean? And just, that's the way he had explained it to me.
Right. She
has told me, even literally to Monday, I have been told by her several occasions that he has drugged her around by the hair of her head.
Well, that's not good. He drug her around by the hair of her head. Yeah, but this is a two-way street with these guys. They're as bad as each other, but one of them's dead. And yeah, one of them's in jail, awaiting trial, which happens on Monday.
Told about by neighbors. I'm sorry I don't have it anymore, but at one point a tenant actually sent us a video clip via text of them two fighting and beating on each other out in the backyard. There was another complaint incident about a ladder being propped up to the wall that George was using to climb over the wall to try to get back into his apartment, sneaking in and out. There was another night, sorry, I forgot to tell you about this too. I got a call for one of my vacants in building 24, 4724, which is not the building. There was a tent set up on my vacant back porch. And it's...
Did you get that, guys? They set up a tent on a vacant apartment thinking it was their house. I guess all these properties kind of look a little bit alike. Well, cookie cutter houses or whatever. And yeah, they were on they thought they were on their porch, but they'd set up a tent, or one of them had set up a tent on a porch that wasn't theirs.
Apparently where George was sleeping for a couple of nights because she had him out of the house. I have another tenant here who may or may not speak to you, I'm not sure. For that reason, I don't want to give you her name just yet without talking to her, but George and her fighting that a different evening had actually wandered into her home. He was so drunk and had no idea where he was, and when she came home, luckily her kids were not there because she's a single mother with 3 kids. George was actually upstairs in her house hollering and looking for Sarah, thinking he was in his apartment.
That is, that's pretty far gone, isn't it? George has gone into the house of a single mother with 3 kids, walked upstairs, and is yelling or hollering for Sarah, thinking it's his house. How drunk do you have to be for that to happen? Too drunk.
So we've had some incidences with them in that aspect, but nothing has ever been so bad that, I didn't feel that we could resolve the problem. And like I said, we haven't had any issues since May of last year. No complaints, no nothing until this. So we thought, hey, they're doing great. Maybe they fixed the problems. I mean,
has she come to you since May of any issues?
No,
okay.
Not one time.
But then again, you did. It basically, they were told you're going to be evicted if there are.
Yes.
So it's kind of like tighten up or get out.
Yeah, it was put up or shut up. I was over it.
Yeah.
If it continued, I was putting them out.
Right.
So.
Did you ever see any marks on George?
No. Not one. Not one. George was a little bit darker skinned.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Would you see George as often as you saw Sarah? It sounds like Sarah came to you a lot more.
Yes. We would always see Sarah as far as the only time I ever really saw George is the time when we actually got George to sign off the lease.
Right.
And he came to me and said, I can't get back in the house. She's got all my personal paperwork because would you please have a conversation with her so that I can get my personal paperwork back from her? He goes, but do you have a set of bolt cutters for my bicycle that's out back? And I said, what's it chained to, And he said, it's actually chained to your AC unit. I said, yeah, no problem. I'll cut the lock. I'll cut the lock for anything attached to my AC unit. It's not supposed to be attached to that.
Right.
So I went out back and actually cut the lock on both of the bike locks because Sarah would not answer the door for me because she knew George was there.
Okay.
Once George was gone, she had actually, because Sarah had my cell phone number, being that I had already went through and just got out of a very abusive relationship, Sarah knew that because, I confided in her and explained that. She did feel a lot more comfortable in coming to me. So I told her if she ever needed someone, or it was an emergency, she could reach out to me and I would do what I could to help her. I felt bad for her. But after a while, when she just kept taking him back, I just told her, I said, you're just going to have to call the authorities. You're on your own. It's obvious you don't want it to stop. He's not doing anything to get help according to you. Can you just keep dealing with it?
And that's the cycle of these kind of relationships, folks. They just tear each other apart, but it's a codependency. They don't want to be with each other, but they need to be with each other because it basically comes down to, here is someone that won't judge me for my drinking. Here's someone that will share in my drinking and share in our denial of it being a problem. And we can blame everybody else in the world. And that will prevent us from admitting we have a problem and dealing with it. That is exactly what this relationship was until Sarah killed George.
There comes a point where it's just stupidity. But that's the run-ins and incidences that I've had with him. I've never seen a mark on George, and he's never told me that she's hit her at all. but she has told me in front of him that he has hit her and things that he's done, and he was not denying it. He never denied it.
Pretty common for the guy to not report being hit. You know, it's still a stigma in society for the man that's being abused to feel weak if he complains about it. Which, cases like this, as pointless and horrific and sad as they may be, they do actually contribute to making some kind of bedrock for other victims or perpetrators or whatever the situation. But they're both victims and perpetrators. But on the male side, it's more in the human eye, right? It's more in the public eye. It's more in the public domain. It creates more normalcy around men who are abused coming forward.
George and her.
I'm not saying that it's a necessary step, but it is what happens. So it's a pretty interesting case from a societal point of view, from a domestic violence point of view in our society, right?
They both expressed to me on many occasions that they knew they needed help. But I'm guessing due to their financial situation, not having any work, probably why they didn't do much.
Right.
When you saw them together, who looked to be like more dominant? I mean, did one seem to be more dominant over the other?
George was very confident. He wasn't arrogant or anything. He, for the most part, stayed to himself. Like I said, there are a couple people here that he knew, from, I will say, another life from Philadelphia. And, George was the one I always seen driving the vehicle. George is the one I always seen playing with the child. Never saw Sarah outside playing with her kid, ever. As a matter of fact, most of the time, Lucas, you would find him riding around the property on his bike, unattended. No parents outside, no nothing. Because I had actually had a conversation with Sarah about that. And I said, the kid was a great kid, don't get me wrong. He never did anything to get in trouble. But it was more my concern for his well-being. When he's all the way riding over here and around some of these corners with the dumpsters, these people don't see nobody. And they sure ain't gonna see no kid outside. So I had a conversation with her about that. And we haven't had any really problems.
Sad stuff, huh? Never saw Sarah playing with her son. Never saw her, watching for his safety. George would play with him sometimes. But when Sarah is asked in the interrogation, where did George get all these marks on his head and neck? Because he's got these scratches. And she says, he's notorious for riding my son's bike. The son is 9 years old. So it's going to be a small bike, right? I just have this vision of George riding a bicycle, a tiny bicycle, like those monkeys at the circus. Or maybe it's not a monkey. Something at the circus has a comically small bicycle. And he rides into the walls, apparently. Isn't that a classic explanation? Oh, he ran into the wall.
I can say I've only seen Lucas on his bike away from her like that twice. She actually had secluded him to stay in front of the building, which was fine. I just didn't want him to live again. But yeah, you didn't see Sarah out at all. The only time I ever saw her, especially after the incident took place with Emmett and his ex-girlfriend, it was more like a confrontation that took place in the office. She made an accusation on Emmett saying that he was trying to forcefully, I don't want to say rape, but he was trying to push himself on her.
On Sarah?
On Sarah. She made that claim.
Some tenant, a different
Yeah,
tenant?
another tenant that knew George from Philly. And they confronted the two of them. I will say Sarah held her held her ground when the girl confronted her and asked her and said, don't lie to my face. And Sarah said, yeah, he did, So I was surprised because she knew that girl was but and she's larger than me. So, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, well, maybe there's some truth to that. But it ended up, just fizzling out. It was no big deal. After that situation took place, we really didn't see Sarah too much. He was pretty intimidated. Those two folks are actually a pretty large family that I have living here on site that actually took up 4 units at that time. So the whole family lived here. It's a little intimidating. So after that, we really didn't see a whole lot of her.
But before that, they would hang out periodically. You said.
The other two families, no, they just knew each other from back in the day.
Oh, the couple did.
The kids did.
The kids.
Yes, that's what initially prompted it, and then that accusation was made during that same time.
Okay.
So, and when it comes to the kids on my property, I stay very involved with them. Yeah. We have some issues with our bus routes and all kinds of stuff, and we had some.
Doesn't this property manager sound great? She sounds like she's running the whole thing like really well, like clockwork, just like, yeah, as when it comes to the kids on the property, I stay very involved. They took 4 units.
Kid vandalism being done, broken glass bottles. They were pulling glass bottles out of the trash, breaking them, thought it was fun. And one kid told on another, and the parents got involved. It became a little bit of an issue. So I had.
Okay, yeah, throwback to the Dan Markel, Professor Markel case, which we will be getting back to, folks, soon enough. Don't worry. Rabbit says, and that's also what we realize in the death of Dan Markel. He was probably a victim of domestic abuse. Absolutely. Maybe not physical abuse. Because I don't think Wendy Adelson needs to physically abuse. She has got, her big guns are in psychological warfare, in twisting the jagged knife into someone's emotions. Look what she did to Jeffrey Lacasse. That poor guy. Man, I can't wait to get on to the Jeffrey Lacasse testimonies. Our triple trilogy. Our trilogy of Jeffrey Lacasse testimonies. I think we're going to do one long video with all 3 testimonies from his court performance. We already did the Jeffrey Lacasse police interview with General Isom. If you haven't seen that yet, guys, go and check it out. It's on our channel. Big picture of Jeffrey Lacasse. You can't miss it. It's like a 4.5-hour video. And yeah, we're going to do a trilogy comparison of his story. Watch for all the non-inconsistencies. We're just going to list the consistencies. They're so consistent. But what's not consistent is Jeffrey's demeanor. And we're going to have a little think about why that might be, because I'm not saying his demeanor has changed to invalidate his testimony. Far from it. But in terms of what this case has done to him, my opinion, and I've only watched his latest testimony once, but my opinion is that after 10 years of him being involved, called to each court case, has he been able to move on from this dramatic trauma? I mean, we've all been through terrible breakups, but who among us has been through one and then realized that there was never a relationship, that you were used and that you were set up to take the fall for the murder of your girlfriend's or your partner's ex, that could possibly and very well probably give you the death penalty? And then to have it hanging over you with such a drawn out long case. I mean, if it was just done, real killers in jail within a year or two, book closed, move on, you're out of the the public start to forget, this guy has just had everything reminding him, you know, his whole identity in society is the guy that didn't get framed. You know, if people see him in the supermarket, they say, "Hey, Jeff, glad you didn't end up in jail." That just must be so annoying. Can you imagine a relationship you had 10 years ago? And everywhere you go, I mean, I'm not saying he's recognized everywhere, but he is by some, right? He's still living in Tallahassee. He's a professor at Florida State University. Anyway, that's for another day, guys. But we are coming back to the Wendy Adelson, well, the Professor Markel case, focusing on the Adelsons mainly at the moment. We're going to be moving on to Lacasse, Magbanowar's attorneys. So, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, leave a comment, and spread the word.
I had to get in the middle to squash it, you know. I didn't want anybody fighting on the property or kids getting hurt for that matter. But that's it.
Is there anything else that you think is important for us to know about Sarah George that we haven't discussed?
I mean, no, I don't. Nothing really. Her nickname's Drunky the Bear. I mean, you know, literally. We know they drank from sunup to sundown.
Would she ever?
They drank from sunup to sundown. What did she say her nickname was? Drunky the Bear. What, like Yogi Bear, but with drink? I mean, what is that? Smarter than the average bear.
I knew she confided in you a lot. Would she ever admit that she was an alcoholic to you?
Yeah.
She would.
Yes. I wish I still had my text messages. She sent it to me on text. I know we drink too much and blah, blah, blah. She told me that George one time had enrolled in AA and was getting help. Now, whether that was any truth, I have no idea. A lot of stuff like that I just take with a grain of salt.
Right.
You know, I think she was more concerned about the image that was being put in my head for them, and I think she was just
100% she was concerned about the image. The thing is with someone like Sarah is they have their version of how they're perceived by others is completely just out of reality. As Sarah sees it, her neighbors think that she's a productive, working hard mother that's just been down on her luck. Well, she's been down on her luck for 9 years, and she spent most of that time in the bar or going to Publix to pick up her supplies.
Right.
paint a prettier picture.
Right.
Because I will say, it was like a week later, she was gone. And when we go, inspecting the property and walking around different projects, we do a lot of pressure washing throughout the year. We did that a couple of times. I ride around the back sides of the buildings, checking everything out. We've got a property drainage system back there. You always knew, because you'd ride back there and you'd hear them, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, they're drunk, falling down, cutting up. My God, I can't imagine you being drunk like that all the time. Jeez.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand for me?
Yes.
Promise and swear everything we've talked about has been true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Since they're recording 12-20 hours.
Okay, I think that's it, guys. Or are we going to do another one? Maybe get this one out of the way first. This is Sarah Boone's first interrogation, which is not in the interrogation room. It takes place in the car of the detective, the same as what we just listened to with the property manager. Yeah, let's do that one, and then tomorrow we'll move on to the actual interrogation. Let's do some comments, guys, just before we move on. Udi says, I am going to take a dab. Okay. He liked to ride a tiny bike, talking about George now, and he liked to get in a tiny suitcase. Yeah, well, so she could have gone with the "it's a kink" story. Yeah, he loved, definitely. I think the "this is kinky sex play. This is what we do. This really turns us on." George gets in the suitcase. I act like I'm, the luggage inspector at the airport, and I go through the bag in my underwear. And then I find George, and I said, "You are contraband." You know? Oh God. God, you really don't want to let your mind wander too far down that image. No update regarding Lacasse that can be called reliable. Just instead is respecting of his privacy. Well wishes for him and preserving his testimony for the next trial without interfering. Okay, Rabbit says, let's read that again. I'm not sure I get it. No update regarding Lacasse that can be called reliable. Just instead is respecting of his privacy, well wishes for him, and preserving his testimony for the next trial without interfering. What are you saying, Rabbit? Are you saying that we shouldn't do coverage on Lacasse's testimonies? You think that'll interfere in the trial? I support his testimonies. The only thing I wanted to unpack with Lacasse is exactly how reliable it is, but also kind of have a discussion around his mental health and physical health. Because to my eye, the difference in his appearance, or as Donna would have you say it, he was sweaty. Horrible sweaty. Lacasse, he lied. He lied. He didn't listen. But yeah, his appearance in the Charlie Adelson trial just seemed that something had been eating him. And I think it was the attention of this case, the attention to him as a product of this case. Like, he is an individual himself. He's got his own life to live, but he's stuck in this collateral damage of the Adelson plot. He has a duty to be called upon. And, oh, look, Rabbit's confirming here. No, cover his testimonies. Just nobody really know how he is doing or what he is doing. There was a rumor he was not well, so he testifies and has his private life returned to him otherwise. Yeah. Well, we're just going to open it for discussion, Rabbit. But that'll be coming soon, everybody. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, ring that bell, like, share, leave a comment. Okay, let's move on to our final segment for today's presentation. We're going to listen to Sarah Boone talking to the cops not under oath, but she is cautioned. She is read her rights for this one, I believe. She always puts a little bit of pressure on someone. Okay, present, share tabs. Okay.
017904. I'm currently located in my unmarked vehicle out in front of 4748 France Lane, apartment.
Again, they get the address wrong. It's France Court, baby. The signpost is right there.
Number 3 in Winter Park, at the Tealwood Park Apartments. And also in the car with me is my partner.
Detective Scott Lowen.
And in the front seat is, can you state your name, ma'am?
Sarah Boone,
Okay, and your birthday?
10-10-77.
Okay.
She loves saying her birthday, doesn't she? 10-10-77. Notice she doesn't say 77. You know, 10th of October, 1977. No, 10-10-77. Double double.
So, Sarah, I know you have talked to some deputies. I know we had a very brief conversation, just to reiterate what you told that deputy. But like I was explaining, I would like to get a more further understanding of what happened last night and ask you more detailed questions. I am going to read you your rights, but it's just because that's how we do things. Okay.
Yeah, that's just how we do things. Not a suspect. It's just how we do things. So these are your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you not think that they could come up with a way to put it that doesn't put someone on their toes?
So you do have the right to remain silent. Okay. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Anything you say may be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before and during questioning without charge. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one can be provided for you before questioning without charge. Has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to talk to me?
No.
Do you understand what I just read you?
Yes.
Okay. So last night you said that you and your boyfriend George were here at your residence and didn't really leave that day. You said that he went to the store to buy cigarettes.
Yes.
What time was that around? If you recall. Was it light out still? Dark out?
Yes, it was light out
It
still.
was still light out. Okay. But he's the only person that left and he came back,
Yes.
I'm assuming? Okay.
It's right down the street.
It's down the street. Okay. And tell me what you guys were doing next. Like what was happening?
We had a bottle of wine. We painted, we drew, we did puzzles.
Do you remember what wine you guys were drinking? What
It's Woodbridge Chardonnay.
Okay.
The bottles are in the trash.
Okay.
And just on this whole puzzles thing, guys, we painted, we enjoyed each other's company, we did a puzzle. You know, did any of that happen? She could have had a puzzle out for her son. You know, this could have just been her way of painting the image of a good, wholesome evening, right? We were doing painting, puzzles, and enjoying each other's company, not having any vindictive, murderous thoughts, and definitely no arguing or fighting. You know, she didn't call the cops or the 911 until 1 in the afternoon. She says that she didn't get out of bed until 12:30 in the afternoon, but you know, what if she went to bed at 12 and okay, she was drunk, but yeah, she could get 12 hours sleep, no problem, but she could also get up at 9 and spend 2 hours thinking, what do I need to do? Well, I need to paint a wholesome picture. I'm going to set up some paint and some puzzles, and that's going to be my story. We don't know.
Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you remember around like what time this was that you guys were sharing the bottle of wine, painting, doing puzzles?
I'm going to say 4-ish.
Okay. And was this before he went?
Yeah, ish. What? It was, you know, it was 4-ish. But don't you hate that when, you know, you're not wanting to commit to a time? And we see it a lot. The cops go or the lawyers go
We painted, we drew, we did puzzles.
Do you remember what wine you guys were drinking? What
It's Woodbridge Chardonnay.
Okay.
The bottles are in the trash.
Okay. Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you remember around like what time this was that you guys were sharing the bottle of wine, painting, doing puzzles?
I'm gonna say 4-ish.
Okay. And was this before he went to the store or after?
I'm sorry.
Had he already gotten home from the store at this point to buy the cigarettes?
Yes.
Okay. So it was around 4 p.m.
Ish.
that you realized, and you guys were doing.
Puzzles and art,
Okay.
listening to music, enjoying each other's company.
And all downstairs. Upstairs? Where did you
Downstairs.
guys? Downstairs. Okay.
We usually sit on the back porch because we smoke and you're not allowed to smoke inside. So
Okay. And who was here last night? Was it just the two of you?
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. No one ever came over at any point?
No.
No. Okay.
we called his daughters on FaceTime.
Okay.
We were just literally just enjoying one another's company.
Okay. And you guys share the phone that you have,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And the phone. It's located in there, I think, in the
Yes.
kitchen area. Yeah. Okay. So tell me what happens next. You're painting. You guys are doing this puzzle together. You obviously finished the bottle of wine.
Yes.
Did you have 1 or 2 bottles of wine?
Well, we had one previously that was maybe not even half full.
Okay.
But then,
So you finished that one and then you had the full one.
yes. Yes.
Okay.
And sorry, what was the question?
Just what'd you guys do next after the bottle of wine? Like after you
Well,
guys
we had-
finished the wine?
We had the bottle of wine while we were doing our arts and crafts.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we were puzzled out, we were painted out.
Mm-hmm.
So being silly, let's play hide and seek, which we have played before. Like, I don't know if you've opened the door on the top of the stairwell, like he and I have hidden in there before, like just having fun and enjoying each other's company.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's literally all it was. And then the suitcase is downstairs because I was telling you we were getting ready to do donations.
Mhm.
And because it's not a very good suitcase. What was the question? I'm sorry.
You were just explaining to me the night.
Oh, he decided to hide in there. So, being silly, he and I were sitting there laughing at it, like with him in there. And then, so I didn't zip it up all the way, but I mean, enough to where his little fingers were out there and whatever, but still having a good time and whatever. Then I guess I decided to go upstairs, and I don't know, I fell asleep. So I woke up this morning and again thought he was downstairs on the laptop looking for a job, as he usually is. And then thought, where is he? Is he on the back porch? Is he in the bathroom? Like, where is he? And then I came to about the suitcase. So I opened the suitcase. I took him out, stretched him out, started to do CPR. Where air was coming out, and then like whatever gurgle. So I'm trying to do CPR on him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shaking him, trying to get him to come to, but I could tell by looking at him, something was wrong. He's been losing his teeth lately and has been complaining about his chest hurts, which is why I keep trying to get him to go to the doctor, but because he nor I have a job or insurance, has been putting it off.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I didn't know what to do, so I called Brian, my ex-husband. I called him, he came over, just walked in and then walked out. I grabbed my phone and I called you guys. From there, here we are.
Okay. The first time you woke up this morning, did you look at your phone to see what time it was?
No.
Okay.
Most of the time, like, I'll wake up, but because he nor I have a job, I'll usually just lay in the bed for a little bit longer because the house is clean. There's nothing else that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Me thinking he's on the laptop looking for jobs, I can't use a laptop. So most of the time I'll just stay in the bed and collect my thoughts and get ready for the day.
So do you have any idea what time you woke up that first time? What time it may have been? I don't know if you guys have
I'm going to say
clock.
11 something. 11
Okay.
something.
Okay.
Maybe.
Is that when you finally got up, or is that the first time you woke up?
No, that's the time that I decided to get up because I figured he was downstairs on the laptop. So let him
Right.
look for jobs on the laptop, and then it usually I'll clean, he'll look for jobs, or vice versa, where I'll look for jobs and he'll clean.
Okay. So you think you got out of bed after 11 at some point?
Yes.
Okay. But we can't recall which time. Do you think you were up for like hours before that, or
No.
collecting your thoughts?
Brian, because I was supposed to have my son today to pick
Okay.
him up from school. Brian usually calls to make sure, hey, are you sure you're getting Lucas today? Because I've had job interviews.
Right.
Are you going to pick up Lucas? So after he called like maybe 3, 4 times, maybe 5, I finally answered, and that's like,
Do you think you were sleeping and missed those calls?
no, I ignored them
You ignored them.
because
Okay.
he's notorious for blowing up my phone.
Okay.
But I understand why, because he's making sure that Lucas gets home
Right. Yeah. Okay.
and to do whatever he needs to do day-wise so he can schedule around it.
Were you upstairs in your room at that time when you were ignoring those phone calls?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So not really sure what time you woke up initially, but you were upstairs collecting your thoughts. You figured he was on the laptop downstairs, so you were just getting ready for your day.
Yes.
You finally got out of bed at sometime after 11 a.m. And had gone downstairs.
Yes.
Okay.
Looking
And
for him and was
couldn't find him. You looked outside, couldn't find him anywhere.
he
And then
wasn't
you
in the
thought,
bathroom. I was
Right.
thinking maybe he's in the bathroom. But then I came to and
And then
remembered
you-
the suitcase.
and then you called Brian.
Yes. He
Told
came
him
over.
to come over.
Yes, he came
He
over.
lives down the road, right? Not very far. He came over, walked in, basically walked out. You called 911.
Yes, I had my phone in my hand. I just wanted to wait for him to get there because I didn't know what to do.
Right. Okay. And then we arrived.
Like, I couldn't, I still, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened, but like my whole thing is the whole like teeth losing thing, and I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know he and I were having an amazing time yesterday, like we normally do.
No arguments.
No.
Nothing. Okay.
And the thing with him though is, which is why we've been doing puzzles and artwork lately, is that he's been stressing about a job, of course, which we've talked about. So what I did was start having him do puzzles and artwork to keep his mind off of it.
Okay.
His ex-wife is all over him about sending money, which he can't do because he doesn't have a job.
Right.
So he was stressing about that. He's been stressing about the job. But that's why I started to buy puzzles and paint to get his mind off of them, which is what I don't know if you noticed on the wall in there, it's all of our artwork and stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, music, art, and playing with the dogs, dancing around the room with the dogs. And then decided to play hide and seek. Because we're always trying to outdo each other on where we can hide the best.
How often do you guys play hide and seek?
Gosh, that was maybe the third time? Maybe.
Okay. Is it a more recent game you've gotten into, or 3 times the total in your relationship? You're talking about
Lately.
because
Again, like we were puzzled out. But we painted already, so why not?
So you were downstairs hanging out. Do you remember around what time you guys started playing hide and seek?
Honestly, I don't.
Do you remember if it was dark out?
It was dark.
Okay.
It was dark. But my thing is like when I spend time with him and I tried to get him to start doing it, I don't look at the clock.
Okay.
I'm here with him and we're having a good time. I don't need to know what time it is.
Right. I didn't know if you were like on your phone, if you got a text message, if you got a phone call last night.
We called his daughters yesterday, FaceTime.
Right. What time was that at?
I don't know without looking at my phone.
Okay.
But ended up.
Would that be the only activity that you had yesterday on your phone?
I called Lucas. I talked to Lucas. He's my son.
Okay.
I always call him.
Morning?
No, it was evening.
Evening? Okay.
But
I'm just trying to help you, remember something you did right before hide and seek that would help you remember a time or give us a good time frame, because that's important for us to know. We want to be able to tell the doctors that.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay. So when you called Lucas, was it before or after hide and seek?
Before.
Okay. And when you called and FaceTime his daughters before or after hide and seek?
Before.
Okay. And did you call the daughters first and then Lucas, or Lucas first and then the daughters?
I know I talked to Lucas, but then we talked to the daughters afterwards.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't remember if she called us. No, I know he called Cookie. But yes, we called her.
What are the two daughters' names? Or just one? Did you say one
He
daughter?
has
or
3
two?
children. It's Anna, Cookie, what her real name is Destiny. And then he has a handicapped son, Georgie.
Okay. Who did you call though yesterday? Who did he call?
Cookie,
And what is Cookie's real name?
Destiny.
Does she have his last name or something else?
It's Torres. Because she remarried, but I don't know her last name.
Okay, so you know it's dark out, but you're not really sure what time it is. You play hide and seek. How long do you guys play hide and seek before he decides to get into the suitcase?
Oof. Wasn't really. I hid upstairs in the shower,
Mm-hmm.
and then came downstairs because I was tired of hanging out in the shower.
Okay.
So that's when he was playing around in the suitcase. So
Okay.
because we both thought it was funny that,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, well, I'm gonna zip you up. You didn't come look for me. So again, it's a broken suitcase, but
What do you mean by broken?
it's only got one of these. But because I didn't zip it up all the way, he was doing the
You mean it doesn't have like the pull part?
correct.
Okay, but it's
No,
got,
I think it's got a, what do you call it? A paper
It's-
clip.
okay. So the zipper to it is missing, like the actual zipper that attaches to it to help you open and close is missing, but you think a paper clip was on it instead?
There is a paper, I believe there's a paper clip on it because I know
Okay.
that the
And
last
that's
time.
what you used to like help assist you?
Well, or you can just stick your fingers in there and
Right, yeah. You could
unzip
do
it yourself, which is why I did not zip it up all the way.
Okay. So how much did you zip it up?
I mean, I don't really know.
You said his fingers were able to stick out?
Yeah, two fingers.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm figuring figuring he'll go get it. He'll get it. But then I wanted to go upstairs and waited for him. And eventually, I guess I fell asleep. I had the dogs in the bed with me, was warm, and then fell asleep.
So you guys are joking. He's in there. You said you could see 2 of his fingers?
Yes.
And then, like, you just decided, okay, I'm going to go upstairs now? Or?
Because I figured he would get out and then go upstairs and have intimate relations like we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
But I fell asleep.
Okay.
And he never came upstairs. So again, I'm thinking he's downstairs on the laptop earlier today.
Okay.
And then remembered.
Okay. So is this something that do you guys play hide and seek before you have sexual intercourse, or do you guys just play hide and seek because you're bored and you're just trying to pass time and it's fun?
We were again puzzled out. Can't paint anymore. Even started to purge some of the art that's on the wall now. So